welcome back to Demigod Debut. I'm Mal, longtime Percy Jackson fan and Clarice apologist.
I am Julie, a Clarice hater.
And you're also new to the book.
I'm not that newbie anymore. We're over halfway through, aren't we?
Well, you're still newbie to this one.
I'm a book and a half in. That should get me some credit. That's
you're
some
right.
street
You're right.
cred. Where's my street cred for that?
So, this is a podcast where I convince Julie to read Percy Jackson for the first time and have book club with me about it once a week. Back by popular demand, we have Christina.
Yay!
And by popular demand, I do mean my own, because the second you were like, oh, these chapters are my least favorite in like all of Percy Jackson last week, I was like, okay, great. So what are you doing next week? Because we gotta redeem ourselves. So Christina, repeat guest question for you. What is your favorite book in the like Rick Riordan canon?
My favorite book is Battle of the Labyrinth, the fourth book, the red one, if you're looking at it,
Me too.
It's iconic. I remember visiting one of the locations that takes place in that book, like as a young, impressionable child, and I was like, oh, I am in the Percy Jackson world. It's a real place. I just was like, I felt like I was a part of it. And obviously, I just really like, I mean, Annabeth is like central in that book. There's a lot of development with different relationships and different characters, like the stakes. Every book the stakes get higher, but the fourth book is when it's like, oh, this just got real. So I love everything about it. It's so angsty, and those of you who know.
I live for angst and drama. So speaking of angst and drama, we did end up reading chapters 8 through 11, despite me saying last time that we were doing 8 through 10, because I remembered how 11 ends and texted Christina like, do we have Julie read through chapter 11 for the drama? So we have been plotting and scheming. Also because 12 and 13, I feel like I could talk about for 700 years. So probably best to just do as few chapters as possible in with those ones. Anything else before we start with chapter 8?
I would like to clarify, these are no longer my most hated chapters of all of Percy Jackson, but we are soon getting, next week, Mallory said, those are some of the best chapters in all of Percy Jackson. So
wow.
That's all I'll say.
Not to gas him up too much, because
no, you should.
But I love them. Okay, great. 8. We board the Princess Andromeda. So we last left off with Hermes giving Percy like the choice to go on this quest. Choice that wasn't really a choice. Annabeth and Tyson show up because they heard Percy calling for help, which some kind of Hermes magic going on there. And Percy fills them in. Annabeth is like, we have to do this quest. And anytime Annabeth is encouraging Percy to break the rules, it makes me laugh a little, because he's got his troublemaker persona, and yet here he is. He's like, I can't. It's against the rules. And he says they'll get expelled, and she says it's hard to get expelled if there's no camp to come back to. And she also says she's not going to be breaking her promise to Chiron if she goes with Percy to keep him from danger. You know, definitely is not what Chiron intended when he made that promise, but it's fine because I want them to go on a quest. Annabeth does suggest that Tyson stay behind because she has this unknown beef with Cyclopses. And Percy kind of agrees he doesn't want Tyson along because of all the teasing and things, and he kind of wants some space, but also he's like, Tyson is a kid, and so we have to keep him safe. And Percy guesstimates that Tyson is like 7 or 8, and maybe the parallel is unintentional, but it makes me think a lot about Annabeth arriving to camp at age 7 with 12-year-old Thalia and 14-year-old Luke. You're dealing with like two trios of similarly aged characters, and so I don't know, thinking like seeing Percy's thought process behind like, we can't leave Tyson behind, but also like it's going to be dangerous for us if we bring Tyson along, because like having this really young person like that, we don't really know what they're going to do. So I don't know. I was just kind of like, I feel like we're kind of seeing what Luke and Thalia must have been thinking about when they like picked up Annabeth.
Parallels,
exactly. Yeah, there's kind of a lot of intro stuff here before we get to the interesting stuff. So I'm going to keep talking. Percy prays to his dad for help, and we get the hippocampi, the like mermaid fish vibe.
I love them.
I know, they're so great. And so they like get on the hippocampi towards the boat, and there's a lot of horse related creatures, you know, the pegasi, the hippocampi. Percy Jackson is a horse girl. This is a horse girl book, and I stand by that.
Does that mean Poseidon is also a horse girl?
Yes, it's all horse girls.
I could live with that.
Horse girls all the way down. So cruise ship time. I am a cruise kind of girly. I think it is an excellent way to travel. You get food, you get lodging, you get transportation all in one. I know Julie does not agree.
No, I hate cruises. You could not pay me enough money to get on a big boat with a bunch of people. I've seen Titanic. I know how it goes. I'm not doing this.
But you could also meet the love of your life,
Only for him to die
only for him to
24
die
hours
tragically.
later. Spoilers.
What?
In Titanic. That's the plot of
Oh!
Titanic.
I was thinking you meant like in Percy Jackson. I was like, who met the love of their life on this Did I read the right book? Like, what the hell am I reading? I was so confused.
You missed that whole
Oh
plot
my
point?
god. And then I thought you meant because there's that new reality show where like they're all on a cruise ship. So I thought you were talking about that for a second. And I was like, I haven't seen that, but that sounds crazy. Someone dies on the ship. And I was like, wait, what? Okay, I am so out of it today. It's truly a Monday.
You're with us
Not
now.
having a good time.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've never been on a cruise. So my perspective is I'll have to see. But a cruise like this one is gonna be a no for me, dog, because it just sounded very creepy. Ghost ship vibes. But also, can we throw it back to if anybody saw the original Sea of Monsters movie, the only thing that is redeemable about either of those movies, outside of Logan Lerman being, perfection in everything he does, he's just
Don't walk on my roof.
Julie, if you haven't seen the movie,
She hasn't.
don't watch it. It's terrible. But what happens is they get on Princess Andromeda, and we're thinking cruise ship, right? No. In Sea of Monsters, we understand the budget is so they give him a little yacht, not even a big yacht. It's a little one. It's a little baby yacht. And Percy's walking on the roof, and Luke just says it in the most stupid way. He's like, "Don't walk on my roof." Like the delivery of the line lives rent free in my brain, and it's so funny. It's the only good thing that came from that whole movie.
I think I need to watch it now. I think we
Enjoy
need
it.
a movie night. And hey,
Turn it into a drinking game.
End of May.
Yes. Drink anytime I get mad and go off on a rant about how this is inaccurate.
I will have alcohol poisoning.
Every time something is wrong.
Yeah. So the Princess Andromeda, stellar name. It's got a big masthead of a woman chained to the front of the ship. She looks terrified. And Percy's like, why would anyone want a terrified woman at the front of their ship? Because they're evil, Percy. Like, we get that you respect women, but Team Kronos does not. So they have the terrified woman. And he gives us kind of a rundown on the myth of Andromeda. She was sacrificed by her parents, saved by Perseus, yada, yada, yada. And we also get, for the first time, which I always forget that we don't actually know in The Lightning Thief why he's named Perseus, but because Percy's one of the only heroes that gets a happy ending, and his mom was manifesting that for him. And Percy's not real optimistic. And honestly, I'm not either, because Rick Riordan will not stop writing books. Tyson has a good time with his new friend Rainbow the hippocampus, and
I love Rainbow. I literally wrote in my notes for this chapter, Rainbow in all capital letters. And that was my notes.
But okay, I do have a question here, because I don't know much about skateboarding, but Percy says he's doing like backwards ollies. And isn't an ollie the one where you like step on the back of the skateboard and like kick it up? How do you do that on a horse?
I thought they were doing just like backflips, which physically not sure how they did that.
Yeah.
Tyson is a big boy from what I understand.
He's just a skater boy. She said, see you later, boy.
He wasn't good enough for her?
No.
So the ship, ghost ship vibes. When they first get on, there's like nothing. And Percy's like, something's wrong here, but I can't quite determine what. And oh my God. And so they find some cabins to rest for the night, and Annabeth goes off into her own room to keep it all family friendly or whatever, because boys and girls sharing a room, gasp. But like, it just feels incredibly dumb. Like, why would you not have someone like keeping watch?
They stumble in this open room that has like goodies for them. It's like, yeah, let's just go to sleep. Did we
learn nothing from the Lotus Hotel and Casino, friends?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I mean, Annabeth is at least like, well, don't eat or drink anything, but clearly that's not always the issue, Everything about this is sketch. And okay, I could kind of see her not wanting to stay in the room with Tyson, because I can like she's got this untold beef with Cyclopses. And so I can see her being like, I'm not going to sleep with Tyson in the room. But also, it's like, you gotta stick together. You gotta stick together. And I know nothing happens, but like it still stresses me out. So we get a dream, and first it's Kronos being like, maybe this time you'll see it's not worth it to do all this stuff for the gods. Then we get Grover, who is unweaving a bridal train to try to postpone this wedding to Polyphemus. And this is, you know, a reimagining of Penelope in the Odyssey, you know, where she's coming up with reasons not to get married to the multiple suitors while she's waiting for her husband Odysseus to return, and spends like 3 years weaving and unweaving a shroud because she's like, I can't get married until this is done. Because, you know, this is a boat book, so we have to have Odyssey parallels. Any recollection of that from your high school reading of the Odyssey?
Oh my God, how many years ago was that? 10 years ago? 10th grade, I read it.
Yeah.
Jesus, was that 10 years ago?
See, I read it my freshman year of high school. That was 11 years ago.
It's just
Oh, that's
not.
horrifying.
Maybe even 12. Oh my God.
Oh God.
Are we old?
Oh my God. I mean, it's like that one gif, have you seen Are We the Baddies? Are we the oldies? We're so old. I don't remember that book because I hated the Odyssey. I have to be completely honest with you. I hated that book.
Well, I spent the entire time I was reading the Odyssey being like, wait, they did this in person. So
Maybe that's why I didn't like it, because I was like, what,
yeah.
15 or 16, and it was like, are we seriously reading this huge ass book in like my English class? Maybe if I reread it today, I would like it, but it was just so
Yeah.
long. That's all I remember. It was
Yeah,
so long.
it is long. Well, and because he spends like 20 years, 20 years on a
Mhm.
boat.
I don't think
God.
I ever read the Odyssey, but I feel like I've picked up enough from like the different like stories that happen. Is the
Mhm.
Odyssey the one where he comes back and he forgets to do the sails thing and his dad like jumps off a roof?
That's Theseus, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, that's good. I don't remember a whole lot about the Odyssey other than the boat and the different locations. I had to read the Odyssey. We read other stupid books in stupid high school.
The Odyssey is also the one where you get the Island of the Lotus Eaters and stuff.
I did know that.
Yeah.
I feel like he has all the coolest stories, and that's maybe because I like the part in this book when they do all the different things that I know Odysseus does.
Yeah. All right. So this is a pretty short chapter. So in the morning, you know, they just wake up and there's a morning announcement on the cruise ship, as cruise ships do. And one of the activities they advertise is disemboweling practice. Red flag. I do have to say though that the like hypnotized tourist vibe seems kind of nice. Like that's the ideal vibe for vacation, is basically like we are on a cruise. We are having
They're having
fun.
fun.
Not a thought in their heads like we're just on vacation. I mean, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad about it.
I kind of agree, especially if the kids are like little, like, and they're not, you know, everywhere screaming in your ear. My note for this part is when I was a kid reading this book, I didn't know what disemboweling meant. I never
Oh.
Googled it because I was like, I don't know what it is. Because in my brain, because Tyson says bowling practice, the way that my brain took this was this is super violent. Severed heads being used as bowling balls. And so I never wanted to Google it because for some reason that's what it was in my head. Now,
Oh my God.
not that disemboweling is, you know, any less violent, but it took me a good number of years to understand what was going on there because
Yeah, that would be horrific.
scared
I
me.
can see why you didn't
Sure
want to
would.
Google that.
So
Yeah.
I held that belief for quite a long time.
Yeah. I think the reason I wouldn't want to be on this cruise though is all the monsters just kind of milling about. Like the way that there's like just a hellhound eating from the buffet.
Gross. Gross.
Like
Sure.
disgusting. And I love the moment where Percy and Annabeth like duck into the girls' bathroom, and Annabeth's like, we have to get out of here. And Percy goes, you think I want to be in the women's restroom? Like, ugh, 10 out of 10. Their banter is unmatched in this book. But they do hear Luke, and they're like, well, we can't leave yet because we got to see what our bestie Luke is up to.
This is how I know I would not survive in an action adventure, any kind. I would just be like, okay, cool, bye. I'm leaving. This is
Yeah.
not part of my itinerary. So we're not also leaving danger as quick as possible. I would not. I would not, which is why I'm not the main character of an action adventure story.
Well, I would be
Fine.
like, Luke is here. Gotta go. I don't want to be anywhere near this man.
Yeah.
Anything else in this one?
In this chapter,
Yes.
is Tyson making something for Percy? Because he keeps tinkering on his little metal project. I just made a note of that, but he won't let Percy know what it is. So I don't know what it is, but I'm like, I don't know if it's a weapon or something that's going to come in handy at the last minute. But
Could be.
I love Tyson. And I'm a Tyson apologist. And Annabeth.
There's nothing to apologize for. There's nothing to apologize
Annabeth needs
for.
to get over herself and realize that Tyson is just a big oaf who loves Percy. Like, he's a sweetheart.
Yeah,
I love him.
Yeah, love Tyson. Okay, so chapter 9, I have the worst family reunion ever. So they kind of spend some time going through the ship trying to find Luke. At one point, they do run into 2 guys, one of whom Annabeth recognized as Chris Rodriguez, who's an undetermined camper that had been in the Hermes cabin last summer. And they're talking about an Ethiopian draken in the cargo hold. How interesting. They also have to watch a group of monsters attack a dummy wearing a Camp Half-Blood shirt, which is upsetting. They find a room, hear voices inside, and Tyson is able to kind of mimic the voices, which is creepy, but also kind of a cool power for him to have. And one of them is Luke. He's talking about Chiron getting fired and ends up catching them outside the door. And really don't like how he calls Percy and Annabeth his cousins. Like, I know they technically are, but I don't like to be reminded of that. Ugh.
Also, that Annabeth had like a huge crush on. They're kind of
like
cousins.
It's fine to date your cousin in Greek mythology. So
It's not.
I mean, because the amount of gods that are married to like their siblings.
Absolutely not.
Ugh. So in the room, there is this big golden coffin decorated with horrible scenes of destructions and things, and the coffin makes the whole room go cold. And in his most villainous move yet, Luke is dressed like a frat boy in
wearing loafers with khakis.
Yes,
what the
yes.
hell?
Khakis, loafers, a button down, and Percy says, and I quote, "He looked like an evil male model showing off what the fashionable college-age villain was wearing to Harvard this year." Like, thanks. I hate everything about that.
Harvard is full of villains. He's so right. It's like the worst people you've ever met in your whole life.
True. Hate. Ugh, Luke. Luke's got these 2 henchmen, Agrius and Aureus, I think, who are these like half bear dudes because Aphrodite wanted their mother to be in love, so she ran off and joined Artemis's band of like maiden huntresses, which, yeah, Hunters of Artemis mention. So Aphrodite cursed her to fall in love with a bear. Truly horrifying stuff.
in that case, it would be better to marry your cousin than a bear.
Very true.
I mean, yeah.
Incest is better than bestiality, I guess. Is that the stance of this podcast?
Episode title is that.
The episode is actually over now, and
Yeah.
the podcast is over.
Canceled. We are canceled.
We have been canceled.
Terrible. So Luke said that this is like typical of the gods, and he's not wrong. I mean, they really don't care who gets caught in the crossfire between their little things, but you know, we can't let them look too sympathetic and make too many good points, because then like Aureus starts laughing and Agrius tells him to go punish himself, and so he like goes over to the table and starts banging his head.
Okay.
Bad vibes. And now I hate Luke, but I hate Luke in like a I love to talk about Luke and I love to hate Luke kind of way, you know, because he is a great character. And the way he's like, "You're welcome for us letting you live. How's your mom? How's school?" I love it. But it does take me aback a little bit every single time that Luke just admits to poisoning the tree. Just
Like, yeah, of course I did that.
I'm like, what? And of course, like, Annabeth is pissed because that's their friend who died for them. And Luke's like, if Thalia were alive, she'd be on my side. And if Annabeth knew it was coming, she'd understand. And like, I don't think there's any situation in which Annabeth would understand poisoning the tree that's made from her oldest friend. Like, sorry, no. We get a lot of information in this Luke conversation. So I just wrote some bullet points and feel free to chime in about any of them. So, number 1, Luke tells Annabeth that traveling with the Cyclops is dishonoring Thalia's memory, which, you know, really gets to Annabeth. Luke evidently has spies at camp who have told him the location of the fleece and that Tyson was claimed by Poseidon. Whoa. Luke asks Percy if he has any idea what's in store for him if he reaches his 16th birthday. Has Chiron even told him the prophecy? Percy tries to say that Luke's dad sent them, but like we said last week, it's too little too late. Luke does not care. And lastly, the thing in the coffin is Kronos reforming piece by piece as half-bloods join their cause, and they're going to make him a new body.
Are they gonna make him a penis?
I mean-
Can you imagine being the half-blood whose like commitment was the one that fought? Like, what a sign of disrespect or respect, depending on how you look at it.
Depending on how big the penis is. Just saying.
Depends how many half-bloods they get to join.
That was my first thought when they were reforming and they were gonna give him a new body. I'm like, is he gonna I don't know why that was my first thought, but
When I was writing notes, I wrote down Coffin Boy Chronos. So I think your notes had a little bit more to them to discuss.
I'm getting down to the important things, you know.
Yeah,
What the people want to know. As a
clearly.
first-time reader, this is what people want to know. Does
Exactly.
Kronos get a new penis? Did he have one to begin with? I need the anatomy of all these weird
I mean,
creatures.
one would assume, considering he has children, but also the gods are doing some weird things to procreate. So
Yeah. I mean, what are we looking at below the belt? People want to know.
I don't know, and I don't want to think about it any longer.
I want to know, Julie, do you have any theories on who could be a Camp Half-Blood spy?
I was just thinking about that, but I don't. It has to be someone I feel like they've already named, but I don't remember who they've already named because my notes are across the room. So I don't know
That's how they get ya.
who they've already named besides the kid, the blacksmith kid.
Oh, Beckendorf.
Yeah, but I feel like I like him, so I don't want it to be him. But I don't know. Maybe those two twins? Was it those two twins who were like
Soul twins?
Yeah, maybe them because they seemed
Also-
evil. But I was like, it has to be someone they named already. I feel like or someone we've been introduced to before. I did want to know. This is a guess. So part of my prediction, but with the whole Cyclops Annabeth thing and Luke bringing it up, like, why are you traveling with a Cyclops? Was Thalia killed by a Cyclops or like chased by a Cyclops? Is like that how she died? I can't remember if we already know that.
Well, she was killed by the Furies. I'm pretty sure it was the Furies who like ultimately killed her.
Okay. I just know something bad had to have happened with the Cyclops. I'm thinking that because I can remember how Thalia died, that maybe Thalia saved Annabeth from like a Cyclops or something, and like that's why she doesn't like Cyclopses. I'm pronouncing it that way, and why Luke would be like, I can't believe you're traveling with this monster.
I want to talk kind of about what Luke offers both Percy and Annabeth to try to get them to join, because I do wonder if he hadn't admitted to poisoning the tree, if Annabeth would have been more tempted by what he says, because Luke really has Annabeth's desires like clocked. Like he knows her, he knows what drives her, offering for her to design something incredible and be a part of like starting the world anew. And I think he could have tempted her a lot more if she wasn't feeling so angry at the fact that he poisoned this tree. But I also think he like very clearly does not understand what makes Percy tick. Like he kind of understands that Percy's mom is important to him, and he's like, you could buy her a mansion, like she wouldn't have to work anymore. And then he tells him like he can have power and fame, whatever he wants. But Percy isn't really a guy who wants power or fame, so it's like he's not doing a good job trying to sell this to Percy, I don't think.
I honestly don't think that Luke could have tempted Annabeth. I think she has a very strong moral compass. So even if like he didn't mention the Thalia thing after his betrayal, I don't think he really could have said anything.
I think I stand with that, but that is an interesting point because I do think at this point, I think she's confused. Like she's still probably reeling from the betrayal of Luke, like someone that she looked up to, admired. I could see, because I'm also thinking like getting Chiron fired. I could see it going both ways because she's still so emotionally tied to this and affected by everything going on with Thalia, and Luke is there and she's seeing him for the first time since the betrayal. So like I could see that. And Percy obviously no, which I think this book does a really good job of setting up. Dark Annabeth.
What we could have had.
Love to see her pop off on someone, like really, like actually go evil.
Because if Luke had her like mind for strategy, imagine the things we could have accomplished. So Annabeth does tell him to go to Tartarus, so good for her. And they're escorted out by security, and Aureus like takes them. And so Tyson is strong enough to overpower Aureus, and they manage to get away. They head for a lifeboat. Did love the detail about one of the half-bloods that's chasing them slipping on a spilled pina colada. 10 out of 10. They make it to a lifeboat. Percy cuts the strings, and they fall towards the ocean. Anything else on chapter 9?
Yes. I like the little bit where like it kind of seems like Luke is having some doubts about his plan a little bit with reforming Kronos, because he looks back at the sarcophagus or coffin or whatever, and they mentioned something about like having, I don't know, it seems like he's having like he's unsure or something. So I'm like, he seems unconfident or unsure, and I'm very excited to see him get his ass kicked
Real.
to Tartarus. Just noting that for future reference.
Chapter 10, we hitch a ride with dead Confederates.
Boo.
Boo indeed. They use the Thermos of Winds to push them and the lifeboat away from the ship. This is also an Odyssey thing. So in the Odyssey, Odysseus gets like a bag of winds, I think from one of the wind gods. Odysseus's men think he's got like gold or treasure that he's keeping for himself, and so they open the bag and it lets all the winds out and like blows them off course again. So they try to iris message Chiron from the lifeboat. Connection's real bad because Chiron's in some kind of nightclub situation. And they end up near Virginia Beach, which Percy knows to be 530 nautical miles from where they started. And Percy has literally never been more attractive to Annabeth as he is in this moment when they discover that he has this nerdy little power of like perfect bearings at sea. And they end up in a little swampy area and love the way that he describes it, only to immediately be like, basically, it wasn't New York, and so I didn't like it.
City boy.
He's right.
I mean, yeah, he's not wrong. So Annabeth leads them to this little hut that's stocked with sleeping bags, blankets, weapons, ambrosia, and reveals that she made this with Luke and Thalia. And Percy's reaction to this is so insane. So I'm gonna read this whole thing. It shouldn't have bothered me. I knew Thalia and Luke had taken care of Annabeth when she was little. I knew the three of them had been runaways together, hiding from monsters, surviving on their own before Grover found them and tried to get them to Half-Blood Hill. But whenever Annabeth talked about the time she spent with them, I kind of felt, I don't know, uncomfortable? No, that's not the word. The word was jealous.
Jealous. Jealousy is a disease, sweetie.
Baby boy does not know what he's feeling. He does not understand.
What do you mean? You were jealous of the time that she was literally like running away from home.
7 years old.
He cares about her so much. He's so down bad that he's like jealous that she had other friends before she met him.
We love it. I wrote down this, it's a cozy cabin vibe. And if this had been, you know, a YA fantasy novel, this would have been like peak angsty, but we get the teenage angst. We get the preteen angst, I guess. He's what, 12?
I also think, you know, it's the Luke of it all, because Percy's kind of always at his worst when it comes to Annabeth and Luke and that whole.
It has to do too with the way that Annabeth looks up to and continues to like low-key defend Luke a little bit. Like Percy just, I think, wants the attention that like
Annabeth is the Luke apologist. Like,
yeah.
She gets mad at him, but she also is kind of like, I can fix him.
Yeah. And I think that is what Percy doesn't like. He wants that admiration, that much dedication.
Yeah.
He's just like,
well, and I think it's
my girl.
It's also got to be frustrating for Percy being like, okay, I'm the one who's here. I'm the one who hasn't betrayed you, and yet you still like have all these feelings for Luke.
He looks like an
Gross.
evil.
Oh my
frat
god,
boy.
he's like the nice guy. He's like, why don't girls like nice guys?
No, don't say that about Percy.
That's what you're describing right now.
He's just 12.
It's
That's
different
all.
when Percy does it.
He'll grow out of it. He'll grow out of it.
They do talk here about how Luke let them go too easily and how they heard him say they'll take the bait, and they don't know if the bait is the fleece or Grover or something else. And Annabeth thinks maybe he wants them to do all the hard work so he can take the fleece. Julie, any thought?
I haven't made up my mind yet exactly what Luke's up to, other than he's a little bitch. So,
Right.
still ruminating on what his end game is.
Percy also asked Annabeth if she thinks it's true that Thalia would be on Luke's side if she was alive. Annabeth says Percy really reminds her of Thalia, so much so that she thinks they'd either be best friends or try to kill each other. But like Percy wouldn't turn on Olympus, neither would Thalia. And of course, this is all hypothetical, and she's saying this to be reassuring to Percy. But like, I don't think she thought Luke would betray them either. So really.
Also, like, Zeus turned Thalia into a tree. I wouldn't appreciate that as, you know, if I was dying and my dad wasn't like, I have full power to help you. Maybe I turn the monsters into a tree. Like, I don't know. And I guess like we'd have to ask Tree Thalia what she would think about it. But like,
yeah, I mean, it is all hypothetical because like we don't know Thalia. Like we don't actually know what she would do. So we're just hearing from like essentially the two people who knew her best.
It's interesting that Annabeth says that Thalia is a lot like Percy, because we've talked a lot of how Percy and Luke are like parallels, and like I think Luke may not have turned out the way that he did if he had like more support or like, you know, some healthier coping habits or something.
Well, and I said in our finale episode of The Lightning Thief, I think the way that Percy's arrival to camp kind of mirrors Luke's, in that Percy lost his mom and his kind of journey to camp, and Luke lost Thalia. And the big difference is Percy is able to get his mom back.
He has a successful quest and gets all the
Yeah.
attention as well. Yeah, it's like that's maybe where their like stories started to like split a little bit. But that is it. It's interesting that Thalia is a lot like both of them, because which way would she have gone? She didn't have a quest. We don't know anything about like her family other than she was also like on the run. So I don't know.
It's all wild. Yeah. So, in another classic move, they go to talk some more about other loose ends and like the real reason Thalia died and the big prophecy that's maybe about Percy's 16th birthday. But Tyson comes back with donuts somehow because, Percy had sent him off to go get powdered donuts in the wilderness. And we discover that chain restaurants can be connected to the life force of a monster, which allows them to pop up really quickly. And I just want to know which chain restaurants you think are linked to monsters.
Chick-fil-A.
Personally, I think Applebee's has kind of sinister vibes. Same with Panera Bread.
Ooh, IHOP. We have like 3 IHOP. It's insane. We don't have the infrastructure to support 3 IHOPs, but they keep popping up.
Interesting.
Dutch Bros.
We don't have a Dutch Bros here.
They're like everywhere, and they're so
What
tiny.
is it?
It's a coffee shop.
Okay.
And their coffee drinks are straight up milkshakes, like worse than
Sugar.
Starbucks, Dunkin' Donut. Like they're crazy.
But they're like little, like you don't go into them. They're like just the drive-thru.
Oh.
They pop up so fast. Every time I turn around, I'm like,
Well, I would say Arby's too. Arby's just has nefarious vibes.
Hot take. I love Arby's.
Oh no, I would kill for a roast beef melt. I would demolish one right now.
It's like just like that cheese sauce. They're putting something in that cheese sauce.
It's so good.
This monster donut is linked to a Hydra, and Hydras are very classic Greek mythology to me, and maybe that's just because there's the one in like Disney's Hercules, or maybe because it's kind of one of the things that has bled over into pop culture. Like I'm thinking about like Hydra in the MCU, and don't they say
Hail
at one point
Hydra.
like cut off one head, 2 more tickets place or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in the Marvel universe and also so much going on in the Percy Jackson universe, and like we know which one I picked to follow more closely. Both have Norse gods sometimes though, so
Do you still have your
that's-
Spider-Man wallet?
Sure do.
You still use it every day?
Sure do. My Velcro
Yeah.
Spider-Man wallet that's meant for an 8-year-old that I use as a grown woman, yes.
I love and
For
support.
sure. I do wonder, like, do these restaurant monster things, do they have to be connected to a Hydra, or can they be connected to other monsters,
Monsters.
But I
Yeah.
never understood the connection either. Like, does the Minotaur have was there a Starbucks when the Minotaur was chasing Percy? Like, I never understood like why chain restaurants and like how that worked.
Well, because it almost feels like it has to be Hydras, because when Percy cuts off the head and Annabeth goes like,
She's like,
oh
"There's
no,
2
you just made
more."
a new monster donut somewhere.
My
It's got to
opinion.
be a monster that you can like fight. It's got to be a monster that like duplicates, I feel like. And I don't know that there's
There's another one.
another one that does this. So maybe it does have
So
to be Hydras.
maybe every individual Hydra is a different restaurant. Like this Hydra was a donut Hydra, and then over here we have a hamburger Hydra, and then over here we have a coffee Hydra. Also, like, how do the Hydras get their associated restaurant? Who manages these stores? I have questions about the logistics of this particular detail.
As do I.
I need more. I need answers. Are the donuts monster themed?
Maybe they
I was
like,
trying to think of like flavors that would be monster themed, and I couldn't really think of anything.
maybe there's like a Tiff Treats Hydra out there somewhere. And it's like
Crumble cookies. Crumble cookies is definitely linked to
absolutely.
a Hydra.
It's the cookie
Absolutely.
Hydra.
Those are popping up like crazy.
Is
So
that like the new
sugary.
insomnia cookies? That was huge when I was in college at Kent. Was insomnia cookies because they would deliver to your dorm at 3 a.m.
Well, they don't do that. It's just they have a rotating menu, so it's like a
Mhm.
thing to go and like try
Oh,
whatever they
I don't know.
have
The
this
new one?
week.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So back to the Hydra. So they're kind of fighting it. They don't really have any way to kill it, so they're just kind of postponing dying. And I love the way Percy
Aren't
says,
we all?
aren't we all postponing dying? Um, I love the way that Percy, when the ship pulls up, he goes, if that's who I think it is, now we have 2 enemies to deal with. Like, absolutely certain that Clarice is not there to help. And she really isn't, because she fires that cannon with no regard for their lives. She does kill the Hydra, though.
Queen.
And she does also invite them aboard her boat, the CSS Birmingham, which is Civil War battlecruiser full of
A Confederate.
the titular dead Confederates. And anything else about chapter 10 before Clarice blows up everything?
She's canceled. I canceled her for hanging out with Confederates. Canceled.
This is one of the things that I have trouble apologizing for her
Oh
for,
yeah, Miss Northern Barbecue. Yeah. Yeah, I bet you do.
Oh yeah, I forgot you already called me a Confederate on this podcast.
You guys lost the war. Just reminding you.
I know. I am not some Southern nationalist. Don't you worry. We should worry about the one who still lives there, Christina.
Hey, listen. It's too cold up there. Y'all are insane. That is my only thing.
That's fair. All right, so Confederate warship. Hot take. I hate this less than I hate the World War II thing. Don't get me wrong, it still doesn't feel great, but I do think it is kind of funny that these like undead sailors were cursed to like serve Ares for the rest of eternity for like being on the wrong side of the war. Like
Because they
that's
lost.
it's a little
We're
funny. It's a
losers.
little
Does
funny.
Ares have like a Nazi army then?
I'd
He's
imagine
gotta have a
so.
Nazi
I
army.
would imagine, yeah, he does. Oh,
Now I'm
0
trying
out
to
of
think of
10.
every
What do you think
war.
the winning side of war gets? Do they get blessed by Ares?
What about the Cold War? Does that count? Like,
I would say yes because it's called a war.
but
He's
it
the
was
god
no
of war.
actual like real like fighting between the US and the Soviet
Yeah.
Union.
There were no
Only
soldiers
proxies.
or battles. It was a shadow war.
Wait, what about the US and Vietnam? We lost. How do you determine like if you win one war but you lose another one and it's the same like side? What about Korea? It's an armistice.
I would imagine you like have to die, but you have to die on the losing side, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know.
I have so many questions now.
Yeah, what happens when they like have a peace agreement instead of a loser? Do you think Ares gets really mad about peace agreements? Probably.
Yeah. He's like, I'm personally going to sabotage the Treaty of Paris. I'm going to do it.
Anyway, I also think it's a little bit funny the way the Confederate soldiers hate Percy for being a Yankee. Oh, Tyson also makes Annabeth hold his hands because he's scared of the ghost. Baby Tyson. And they also serve Dr. Pepper on this ship, which, yeah, Dr. Pepper, but I don't love the association with
Feels very Southern.
the Confederates. Yeah, I know. Big fan of the way Clarice says that they've been expelled from camp forever, and Mr. D said if they come back, he'll turn them into squirrels and run him over with his SUV. Incredible threat.
Legend.
Mr. D continues to give unhinged and here for it. Annabeth and Percy kind of try to warn Clarice, like, Luke knows where the fleece is. He's got this ship. You should let us help. And Clarice insists this is her quest, and she's not going to let them steal it from her, which is real. I get where she's coming from. But also, it is made very clear that nobody wanted to come with Clarice on this quest, and also that she got some bad news from the Oracle, but she doesn't share, like, the prophecy that she got, so we don't know exactly what's going on there. But bummer all around. And Percy has another little Grover dream in his hammock. In this one, Polyphemus catches Grover unraveling the wedding train, and so he gives Grover some magic wool that can't be unraveled and tells Grover he has to finish weaving by tomorrow. He also kind of implies that there's some kind of pets of some sort that guard the island and would make it difficult for someone to come and rescue him. And then I have some questions because Percy describes the Cyclops' island as being shaped like a saddle cut in half by an axe. And I just cannot fathom what that looks like. What is this shape? You could have described this any other way. Like how is it cut? Long ways, sideways? Like how are we
hamburger hot dog style? Which way?
Exactly. How are we cutting the saddle?
See, in my head, it's shaped like an 8, but it's filled in. So to me, in half, it's a 3. It was not as a 3.
I was kind of picturing, like, if you're looking at it as like an 8, I was picturing you cut like long ways across the part that you sit on. So basically you divide it into like 2 circles, I guess. But that feels like then you just say it's like circular with like a flat part. So
and it's so specific that I'm like, sir, what were you looking at when you were describing this? I'm trying to
is
see
this
if I
a
can...
reference to a real island? Like that he like saw and was like, that's what it would look like?
Is there an island like in the Bermuda Triangle that is shaped in some interesting...
It's the Fire Festival Island.
fashion?
That's what I'm gonna pretend.
I actually don't even know where the Bermuda Triangle is, and the coordinates are literally given in.
You're such a fake Percy fan, Mel. How do you not know where the Bermuda Triangle is?
There's definitely some islands in the Bermuda Triangle that I'm Googling that could look like half of a saddle.
Interesting. It's an interesting way to describe something.
Yeah.
So we didn't need it. It's just an island.
Right.
We
We
didn't even really need to know what it shaped
right,
like.
you didn't need to tell us the shape of the island at all. Percy also overhears a conversation between Clarice and Ares, kind of over Iris message. And it makes me very sad for her. Like, all she wants is to make her dad proud, and he says he wishes that one of his sons had gotten the quest. Boo.
Very
We all hated that.
sexist.
We all hated that. And I also don't like the way it says that Ares raises his hand and she flinches, because that was also written about Sally and Gabe last book. So there are implications there. And I don't really think that Ares has enough contact with his children to be like physically
Abusive.
abusing them. But then there's also Clarice's mom that we don't know that much about. And Clarice is a year-round camper, so she doesn't see her mom. Much to consider. Much to consider. Because also, what kind of person do you have to be to attract the attention of this universe's Ares, who's just kind of all around terrible?
I agree though, but you think the same thing about all the other gods, like
Yeah,
because
that's true.
but also like with Athena, it's not about like attraction or love. It's like she likes their brain. So maybe it's that way for others. Maybe like Clarice's mom is like really like ruthless. Maybe she's like an assassin or like a really cool motorcycle girly. And he was like, yeah, here's a baby. But she'd have to get really pregnant because
Yeah, I feel like male gods tend to do things the traditional way.
yeah, they
Whereas
would.
with,
I
with
hate
goddesses, with goddesses,
It's a little
it's a
different.
little different, because a goddess is not going to be like pregnant. That's
Now that we've
we
established we don't know how Clarice was conceived, that's fine.
we I'm very uncomfortable with the direction that this podcast has taken in several moments
We're
tonight.
asking the real question.
We sure are. We sure are. Also, okay, fully forgot that Scylla and Charybdis are in these chapters as well. Like, we're truly,
Is that how you say it?
I think
No idea. I never knew how to say it.
that's how well, okay, that's actually not how I've always said it. I pronounced it in my head as a kid as Charybdis.
Yeah,
But
same.
I'm like, that can't be right. I think it's Charybdis. Because I'm assuming it's the same, because like Chiron is also a CH, so
Dumb.
Charybdis. I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah,
I do
so
think that these are two of the coolest monsters in Percy Jackson. Like, can you imagine? Like, you're just like
true.
a giant mouth. That is your
In the
whole
sea.
thing.
Yeah.
You're just a mouth. Also, I think
That's
the scene
what
will
I
be
want to
really,
be.
really cool in the TV show.
Agree. I these are also from the Odyssey, and Clarice is convinced that she can kill Charybdis because she just kind of sits in the middle of her whirlpool, and
He's
Scylla is
so
up on a
stupid.
cliff. I know, famous last words. Like, she does make it really hard to be a Clarice apologist in this chapter. Gotta say, poor choices, pride, like, it is okay to accept help, Clarice. It really, really is. But also, I understand her, and I'm with her.
No.
Yeah, so Percy can't control the water. Tyson says the engine of the ship needs to be fixed. It's bad news all around. And so Tyson goes to fix the engine. They almost get sucked up into Charybdis. Clarice's plan to kill her doesn't work. Big shocker. Scylla starts picking up crew members. The engine is probably going to explode. They have to start abandoning ship. A great time. And Percy goes to get Tyson because Tyson went like below deck, which is now on fire. And on his way, he gets picked up by his backpack by Scylla, which is like classic gag. And he stabs her in the eye and gets dropped right as the ship explodes below him. I'm going to read from the last page of this chapter for the drama of it all. Here it goes. Then I heard a different explosion, the sound of Hermes' magic thermos being opened a little too far. White sheets of wind blasted in every direction, scattering the lifeboats, lifting me out of my freefall and propelling me across the ocean. I couldn't see anything. I spun in the air, got clunked on the head by something hard, and hit the water with a crash that would have broken every bone in my body if I hadn't been the son of the sea god. The last thing I remembered was sinking into a burning sea, knowing that Tyson was gone forever, and wishing I was able to drown. Now, we don't have time to unpack all that, but pour one out for Tyson. What a way to
He's
go.
not
And
dead. He's not dead.
Interesting for you
I'm a
to say
Tyson
that.
truther. He's not dead. I refuse to believe it. Doesn't make any sense.
Mm. The ship
Tragedy.
exploded. The ship exploded.
The dude is like fireproof. Like little explosions. Like,
Fireproof, not explosion proof.
what do you think an explosion is? It's all fire. He's fine.
I'm just saying, Rick likes to add tragedy for drama. We know this. I'm just saying, the man will play with your heart, just like all men.
It's true. It's true.
Except for Percy wouldn't do that. He
Well,
wouldn't. He wouldn't intentionally do that.
the way that Percy just immediately wishes that he could drown, like that's a very intense feeling to be feeling. Like to immediately be like, I wish that I could die. Like
I wish
that's
I was dead.
a lot for a 13-year-old. And
Died.
these demigods need therapy for real.
Agreed.
All right. So that's kind of the end of chapter 11. Anything else?
I hate the Grover storyline right now. I have to be completely honest.
Really?
Every time I read, like, he has a dream, it makes me so uncomfortable.
Oh, you
And
don't like the marriage part?
No, I really don't. I hate
That's
it.
fair.
I
Yeah.
just have a lot of questions. Like, does Polyphemus think that all lady Cyclopses are like this big?
I don't know. It does kind of beg the question what the rationale behind, because it feels like in writing this, there's a lot of parallels to the Odyssey, and it feels like it's like, okay, we have to make someone Penelope, like the one that we're trying to get to, kind of the same way Odysseus was trying to get back to his wife. And so I feel like that's kind of what happened. And then it's also kind of like, it would be really funny. Let's put Grover in a dress because, it's 2006. And so that was like, that was funny. And now we kind of, have evolved past that and are kind of like, well, that's not great. But I don't know. I feel like it was like trying to kind of shoehorn this story into the myth in a way that has aged a little bit poorly.
That's a fair take.
Anything else, Julie?
Just have some predictions for next time.
All right, excellent. This was really a lot of like
Setting up for the
setting
next
up, yeah. Like
best part,
setting
minus
up a lot of stuff, Like
like the whole rest of the book and maybe the series.
and the whole rest of this series. Crazy, crazy. All right, cool. Prediction time from Julie. What you got?
1, no way Tyson is actually dead. I refuse to believe Tyson's dead. 2, Clarice is gonna screw up somehow because she just
She's
is.
Clarice. Yeah.
I hate her so much, actually. It's like only getting worse. I think she's
Boo,
too
Clarice
cocky for her own
rocks.
good. No, she really doesn't. She objectively does not. No.
Really,
though-
I'm only like leaning so far into this because you don't like Clarice.
You have to be my foil. I cannot stand her. Yeah, I think she's already been too cocky for her own good with the whole Bermuda Triangle monster, who I don't remember how you pronounced her name.
Charybdis.
And yes,
Charybdis.
Yeah, I think she's just gonna screw up again because it's Clarice. It's what she's destined to do. That's what the Oracle prediction was. It's just she's a big screw up. That's my prediction for her. I can't stand her. Like, I don't know why she rubs me the wrong way, like so viscerally, but she does. That's what I have for general predictions, and then we're just doing 2 chapters next week.
Yes, 12 and 13.
Okay, so 12 we check into Cece's spa and resort. I made a Cece Sabathia joke. I was like, wow, I didn't know he opened a spa in his post-season career. I love it. Let's go.
Yes,
Yankees,
yes,
okay?
because the chapter is in fact about former pitcher for the Yankees. He was
It
a pitcher,
is.
right?
Yeah,
Knew
Okay.
it.
Yeah, look at me knowing
yeah.
stuff.
Great pitcher. He's actually big into wellness now, which is kind of funny.
Wouldn't that
Spa?
be wild?
That'd be so funny.
What if in the TV show they get him to play Cece? That'd be fun.
Yeah. Is Cece Circe? Like, that's my guess. Like,
The pitcher
from
for the Yankees. You were right the first time.
That's all I had for that. Is Cece
Great.
Sabathia joke, love him, and that Cece's actually Circe. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. And then chapter 13, Annabeth tries to swim home. I think that Annabeth and Percy are going to get into a huge fight, and maybe because she knows more about the prophecy than Percy does, or something like that. And I think she's going to be like, you know what? Fuck you, Percy. She wouldn't really do that, but I think they're going to get into a huge fight because it's Percy and Annabeth. I need more angst and enemies to lovers. Like, I know they're friends, but I need them to become enemies a little bit. That's a
In
good
the
one.
alternate universe where Annabeth joins Luke in
Yeah.
chapter 9,
I would so read
friends
that
to enemies to lovers.
so fast.
Writing the fanfic as we speak.
This is gonna become a fanfic podcast.
Yes. I can recommend some great Percabeth fanfics. Thank you. I have written a Percabeth fanfic or two in my time.
Oh my gosh, drop the link.
No, I will not. Only people I don't know in real life get to read the
Did
things
you
that
post it on your Tumblr?
forgot that you followed me on Tumblr. I actually think I did post it on my Tumblr, but you can't read it because the most recent one I
Spoilers?
wrote, is after the 4th book. Also, fun fact, this chapter 13, Annabeth tries to swim home. Annabeth is mentioned by name in only 3 chapter titles in the original 5 books, and this is the second time. First one was Annabeth Does Obedience School. So there's only one more time that Annabeth is mentioned by name in a chapter title.
Which book is it in?
4.
Oh, Obedient. No,
No, that was Lightning.
that was, yeah.
It's Annabeth Breaks the Rules.
Oh.
No context spoiler for Julie, I guess, in the chapter title.
No context spoilers are great.
As if Annabeth hasn't already broken the rules
But this one is
several
like
times in the time we've known her. Yeah. All right. So next week, chapters 12 and 13. Very excited. I've already started going through those because I was so excited for it. So it's gonna be a grand time. Thanks for being here, both of you. Thanks for having book club.
Thanks for having me to discuss.
Of course. We'll have to have you back again.
Absolutely.
Please. I am invested now. I mean, I was before I downloaded all your episodes. But now, for real.
Catch you both later.
Good to see y'all.
Bye. Hi, thanks for listening. We've got more Sea of Monsters content coming for the next few weeks with some awesome repeat guests and also some fresh voices. But in the meantime, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at DemigodDebutPod. See you next time. Bye!